My sister-in-law wanted to risk my son's life as he has a life-threatening peanut allergy, and she wanted a little snacky dipped in peanut butter to cure her pregnancy cravings. My brother and his wife Livy, who is 7 months pregnant, are staying with us for a week or so since he's interviewing for jobs in the city where my family and I live. My kids love having their aunt and uncle around, and everything has been great. Yesterday, Libby went out and came back with groceries. I thanked her, but told her that we don't expect them to do this as the kitchen is stocked and we're just enjoying having them. She said she wanted to, and that most of the groceries were cravings she'd been having. I started helping her unload the bags and noticed a lot of snacks with peanuts, cookies, crackers, peanut butter, even some sort of cake fusion. It made me uneasy because she knows my oldest son, 8 male, is extremely allergic. I don't keep anything like that in the house because we had an incident when he was younger where we almost lost him. I didn't want to be rude, but I told her I'm not comfortable having those things in the house. She told me she'd be careful, wouldn't eat it around him or his siblings, and would clean up after herself, saying she was having intense cravings and needed them. Look, I had 4 kids, and I kind of get where she's coming from, although I never had to have something. But every woman is different. I made sure my son knew not to touch any of it and to leave her alone when she was eating those snacks. That was that. Today, I woke up early to make breakfast and open the fridge, only to find strawberries dipped in peanut butter left out without a container to chill. The peanut butter jar wasn't sealed properly next to them, and there were sandwiches on a plate because she likes the bread cold and soggy. I was pissed. I've read enough about airborne contamination to know you can't always determine it, but I wasn't willing to risk it. I grabbed a bag and started throwing everything into it. Our groceries, hers. I didn't care. I was going to take the bag, drive to a shelter, and explain the situation. Libby woke up while I was in the middle of this, came downstairs and asked, upset what I was doing. I was snippy with her and didn't hide it. We got into an argument, with her defensively saying I couldn't do this, that the baby needs it, and that it's cruel to put a pregnant woman through unsatisfied cravings. I bluntly told her I don't give a single blob. If she can't keep to her word, then I won't either, and that she'll live without her cravings. My son doesn't have that luxury with his allergy. She went back upstairs, packed. Her bag came down, grabbed the food, and left in a huff. My brother was at his interview and called me half an hour later to ask what happened. He was upset with his wife, but also with me because at the end of the day, nothing happened and my son was fine. I told my husband when he came back from work and he's completely on my side. Whose side are you on? Irrelevant comments. Comment 1. Nothing happened and your son is fine because you made sure that would be the case. The only thing I can think you could have done differently to be more in the right would be to ensure your sister-in-law knew the severity of the allergy and that even skin contact with invisible residue could trigger it. But that really isn't necessary with anyone remotely reasonable, as most people under 40 have been taught about peanut allergies. You were already being exceedingly reasonable and taking risks just allowing that stuff in the house. You would have been within your rights to say you couldn't risk having peanuts in the house at all. Let her eat it outside if she needs it that badly, as long as she thoroughly cleans before returning. Leaving it out in the open like that, where it could touch other things and leave residue, was completely unreasonable in the house of someone with a contact allergy, much less one that is life-threatening. Comment 2. There's a difference between a pregnant woman not satisfying her cravings and an 8-year-old going into anaphylactic shock. One is potentially life-threatening, and the other is not. Your sister-in-law is being selfish and uncaring. If she needs to satisfy her cravings that badly, she can go somewhere else with the peanut butter you're trying to protect your child from contamination. Comment 3. Honestly, I hate the but baby wants and baby needs excuse in situations where the pregnant woman is the asshole. No, your unborn baby doesn't need strawberries dipped in peanut butter or cold, soggy peanut butter sandwiches. It's something you want. The baby is fine with whatever you eat as long as you get the necessary nutrition. It's not cruel to say you can't eat that in my house just because you're craving it. There aren't any human rights organizations that will come running because a pregnant woman has to go without her cravings for a few days. But it's a serious issue to contaminate food and possibly endanger a child's life. A kid with an allergy needs their home to be a safe space, not a place where grabbing food could be life-threatening. People need to tone down the me, the attitude update. As some people predicted, Livy went straight to my family and started complaining. She didn't twist the story, but she told them the full, honest version, and my mother was livid. She called me panting like she'd run a marathon after berating Livy to make sure my son was okay. I can only imagine the riot act she read to her. Even my stepdad gave Livy one of his disapproving frowns. My brother came back in the evening to get his thing, since Livy had only packed hers for some reason. He apologized for what she did and said he'd have a chat with her when she'd calmed down. He told me she'd been crying since leaving my mom's house and now feels unwelcome and unloved in our family, and he blames me for it. My husband stepped in and told him enough was enough. He said whatever Livia's feeling doesn't compare to how we felt, and that she needs to get over herself. I've been scrubbing the house from top to bottom for hours because of her actions. I did get panicky and deep clean the entire house, especially the kitchen. But anyway, my brother left after saying there was no reasoning with us when we're this stubborn. Now that I've had time to calm down, I do feel bad that Livy is distressed and feels unwelcome in the family. That was never my goal. I've been debating sending her an apology. Not for my actions, because I stand by them, but for the way I handled it. I shouldn't have allowed the stuff in the house in the first place and could have been calmer after I opened the fridge. But other than that, I'm glad this drama is over. Thanks for all the help. Thank you, relevant comments. Comment 1, if your sister-in-law doesn't get to eat her pregnancy cravings, she and the baby will be fine. If your son is exposed to his allergen, he could become very sick or even die. Your sister-in-law is selfish and entitled for thinking her snacks are more important than your son's life. Comment 2. What gets me is just how blatant and uncaring she was. She could have survived without it or eaten it elsewhere. We're not talking about someone who had a few packs of peanut butter cookies and ate them only in their room or outside washing up afterward. She contaminated the kitchen, the fridge, and possibly the living room. If it's open plan, making sure the child would likely come into contact with peanut butter. It feels like someone who doesn't believe in others' allergies and deliberately sets up situations to prove they're not real.